Save thousands of dollars faster with these money-saving tips. Canadians saved a lot of money. According to CBC News, in 2020, the average Canadian saved more than $5,000 for a total of $212 billion, according to Statistics Canada. But the thing is, saving money isn't always easy. And don't get me wrong, I do believe that focusing on learning, gaining experience, developing relationships, and getting quality internships serves students well in the long run, rather than obsessing about saving every single penny. Nonetheless, if you are looking to save more as a student or get into the habit of saving, I'll discuss 5 ways to save more money, especially if you want to cover, say, tuition, an emergency situation, a special treat, or maybe feed your investments. The first tip I have for you is what I call the textbook tip. Can you save hundreds, maybe even thousands with this textbook tip? Let's find out. Bit of a shameless plug, this is one of the tips that I share in my book, Personal Finance for Students, and the gist of it is to first consider your options before purchasing, say, a pricey textbook. So picture this. There's a student, we'll call her Dolores. Dolores made a rookie mistake. It's Dolores' first day of undergrad, and she ends up buying this pricey textbook for class. Brand new, nice and shiny. Problem was, she only referred to that textbook maybe once or twice in her entire undergraduate career. Now, before I go any further, I do want to mention that I have absolutely nothing against textbooks. They're loaded with information and they're a great reference resource. But before you shell out hundreds for textbooks that you may never use, it's worth considering how often you'll actually use it, where else you can get it, maybe secondhand, or whether it's possible to share with friends or even borrow from the library. If your professor doesn't assign any readings from the textbook, do you really need your own copy? These are some of the questions that you should be asking yourself. By the way, I want to quickly mention that I'm not saying to cheap out on your education, not in the slightest. A solid education is an investment that pays off. What I am saying is that the average post-secondary student spends between $628 and $1,200 annually for books and supplies as of the 2021 to 2022 academic year, according to this resource. So if there's no difference between where you get your textbook, consider your options. If you can save hundreds to thousands of dollars that you can allocate to something more effective or more useful for you, all the better. Tip 2 is all about automation. Did you know that you can actually save more without even thinking about it? Listen, when I got my first paycheck, I was super excited. I remember once splurging on some MAC eyeshadows because I couldn't get enough of those bright, bold looks courtesy of those early YouTube beauty creators. You know the ones. But if you're looking to plump up that savings account and not just those lashes, you need to know about automating your savings. There's a book that's called Nudge, and I'll lean on that to talk about this. In part of the book, it talks about how science was used to help people quadruple their savings rates. The author describes an experiment where there was a group that started with the lowest savings rate among 3 groups, around 3.5% of their income. With the program, their savings rates almost quadrupled to 13.6%, all by taking pesky self-control out of the picture and making saving more automatic. Although it takes some time and effort to set up initially, automating your savings can, well, save you a lot more time, fuss, and money in the long term. There are many ways to set up your savings flow, and a financial professional can help you more in depth. But let's see how Dolores, our fictional Kingshire resident, does it. So her paycheck hits her checking account, and from her checking account, her money can either go into a spending account that she can use for food, rent, transportation, and so on, or a savings account, which can be further subdivided into an emergency fund, a high-yield savings account, investments, or any number of savings buckets for her goals. What's cool is if you're putting away, say, $10 per week, which is $40 per month from a part-time job, that's almost $500 per year saved. And that's great because, as this Jamaican proverb says, save money and money will save you. This speaks to the importance of saving money. If your bank account is empty, it can cause you to feel hopeless, vulnerable, or as if you're operating in survival mode, especially if an emergency happens. Whereas if you have savings, you have a cushion that you can lean on if catastrophe strikes. Thinking ahead to when you've graduated and are in your career, having this cushion also opens up more opportunities so you don't have to feel trapped in a position you don't want to be in. You've got options. Next, tip number 3 is something that may sound obvious, and yet it's worth mentioning. So this is all about taking advantage of those student discounts and perks. If you're a student and you're sleeping on student discounts and perks, then it's time to wake up because you might be missing out. I'll start with social media. Did you know that some universities and colleges offer savings tips for students on their social media pages? Look out for posts that share hot tips on freebies on campus. You might be surprised at what you can find. To my Canadian students, you may have heard of something called SPC, which stands for Student Price Card. I loved mine during undergrad and was deeply disappointed when I was no longer eligible. You can save on your next pair of headphones when your roommate breaks your current set, the snacks you need to fuel those late night study sessions, or that scent diffuser you've been eyeing to calm your nerves while you make a mad dash to complete your assignment. And you might be thinking, okay, aren't we supposed to be saving, not spending? Yes, definitely, but saving doesn't mean complete and total deprivation of all the joy in your life. If you can save hundreds or thousands on things that you need anyway for your life or for your sanity, it's a win-win, right? Especially if that money can go into something more useful or something that can help you advance in your education or your career. Next, I want to talk to you about something that I call your emotional account. I'm sure you've likely heard about a savings or a checking account, but I'm talking about what I call an emotional account. The world's biggest companies spend big money to understand things like what makes you buy something over and over again, what makes you tick, and what makes you pick one brand over another. But what if we could spin that idea of figuring out what nudges us to act in one way or another and make that work in our favor, say by growing our savings accounts? Well, as an analogy, imagine someone who has a fitness goal. They might better adhere to their plan and reach their health goals faster. So check this out. This research study demonstrates how understanding our emotions can lead to increased saving. Because yes, having solid financial literacy and education is key, no doubt about it. And we need to be ready with the tools, knowledge, and resources to make the best decisions for our money. But asking yourself why and keeping that close can take you further. Maybe you want to save enough for that house with a big yard to give your dog the life they truly deserve. The point is that your why keeps you accountable, motivated, and gives you a personal deep reason for why you're doing what you're doing, even when tumultuous waves rock the boat. Oh yes, and there's one more thing before I forget to tell you, and that's the future value of money. For me, especially as a person who loves systems and formulae, learning how to use the future value formula for my money made a remarkable difference in my mindset towards saving. A simple way that I like to think about it is this. There's a relationship between time and money. Imagine I give you the option to get $1,000 right now or 2 years from now. Which one would you rather choose? Well, if you have the $1,000 now, you can put that towards things that you need or want today. Maybe that's a new winter jacket, paying off some of your student loans, or those Tara Slow concert tickets that everyone's been talking about. If you wait 2 years, there's a delay in when you can start putting that $1,000 to good use. So in that sense, even though it's still the same amount, the $1,000 today is more useful and valuable than 2 years from now because of that opportunity cost. What you'd be missing out on by receiving that $1,000 later. But what if we changed some of those amounts? What if I said that you could either receive $1,000 right now or $1,100 in a year? Which one would you rather have? The future value formula can help us figure out what could be the most suitable for our future needs. It looks something like this. Now, if you receive that $1,000 and then invest it into something that gives us, let's say, 15% return annually, then we should take the $1,000 now instead of $1,100 in a year. But if you can't make more than that $1,100 in a year, or if you can only invest the $1,000 in something that gives you, say, less than a 10% return, then you'd want the $1,100 in a year, since that's worth more than the PV or present value of the $1,000. Putting this all together, if you've been eyeing, say, these bad boys, consider that putting that $100 into the stock market, assuming an average annual rate of return of, say, 10%, could be much more in 5, 10, 20, or even more years from now. Listen, if you feel like your savings just aren't where you want them to be quite yet, remember that there is still something that you can do. If you feel behind and you're wondering if you're saving enough or doing enough with your money, click here to learn more about emergency funds today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel, liking this video, or maybe sharing it with a friend. This lets me know what you want to see more of so that I can create more content just like that for you. Until next time, bye!